week here on VCTV for you. This is the transition. What does that mean? Well, we're coming out of Q3 and into Q4. So we're fast forwarding even faster towards that sprint to the end of the year. This is the last 3 months, almost, just a few more days. This is the last 3 months of the end of the year. It's time to get your product out if you haven't already released it. It's time to get your fundraising in. It's time to have those conversations. It's time to get as much exposure as you possibly can for what you're building and what you're selling and what you're fundraising for. Investors, what does that mean for you? Everything's happening. It's happening everywhere. Technology is changing. Industries are changing. Regions around the world are seeing the integration of all of the above. It is time to keep you updated. And that's what we do here on VCTV. Make sure to bring you the latest in technology, industries, and regions around the world so you can stay up to date to make the best investments. And entrepreneurs, you can know which area to go into, which technology to build in, and who's investing in it. With that, today's episode, we're going to be talking about insurance and insurance tech. These are areas that are thriving right now. We've been seeing more advancements, more investments, and more technology put into this industry or this sector, if you will, over the past few years. Well, here in 2020, we've seen even more go into it, looking at the next few years ahead, whether that be around real estate, whether that be around medical, whether that just be around insurance in general and the entire process or value chain behind it. But what are all these things? What's going into this? Where is the investment opportunities? Where is the building opportunities? That's what we're going to get into today. And I'm lucky enough to be joined by some of the best and brightest from around the world who not only focus on insurance tech and are investors, but also are focusing on the technologies that are powering them. And so we've brought them here today to share a little bit about what they're seeing around the world in these areas, to share with you so you can make the best decisions around insurance tech, and the technologies that improve them. But before we get started, audience, big thank you for joining in today. And if you like what you hear, make sure you click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. And if you're an investor listening and would like to be on a show like today, whether it's insurance or any other technology industry or region around the world, do reach out to the LA Token team and or myself, and we'll find the right episode for you. Entrepreneurs, I told you, we're in that transition, Q3 to Q4. This is the opportunity for you. We have a virtual stage here at VCTV for you to get up on and pitch us as investors. Get the chance to pitch us as investors that are focused on your area to give you real-time feedback, input, and build the initial relationship, along with pitching our entire live audience. A huge opportunity if you're looking to get out there, sell a product, sell a service, or looking to meet investors investing in your area. And a big thank you to the entire LA Token team and Emmanuel for helping to make VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host. Let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, a little intro, a little background. Lewis, welcome back to the show. You're looking slick with the tie today. If you can, a little intro, a little background for everybody.
Oh, I'll give you a little intro, a little background. I'm trying to look good for you, Kyle, and then Gary, he'll make fun of me if I don't. But it's not Rock and Roll Friday yet, so we have to hang on for that. It's Manic Monday. Anyway, I'm I'm the managing partner with FJ Partners. We're a private equity firm, and we are involved in AI, VR, AR, and just technology as a whole in different areas. And I'm also the CEO of Megahoot, which we're involved in those areas as well. And we're looking to make this as informative as possible. And the one thing that I can say, as far as investing, we invest in people. And I haven't been saying that enough, but I should say that more often. We invest in people, and that's priority for us. The people that we deal with. So I'm going to pass it over to Gary because he's chomping at the bit. He has something to say. Okay, and he's organizing.
Gary's not up. Gary's not up yet. Gary's last.
He's last.
Gary to last. Okay. He's got something big. He's got something big we're going to tease out. So we're going to leave Gary.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go, and that's what's going to happen there.
It's mind blowing. And to our audience, look, we have a little pre-show before the show, and we get a chance to chit chat, catch up with each other, share some cool insights of what each other are doing, what we're looking at it from an investment standpoint, what we're seeing, and also what we may be releasing. And so we got a little tease from Mr. AI and Mr. Gary Fowler down there. So we'll be teasing that out here in just a minute. But before we do, Anuj, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. A little intro, a little background for the audience as well.
Thank you so much, mate. Always fun to see you. So introducing myself, I am the founder of Yellow Sapphire Technologies. We are IT development organization based out of India with specialization in fintech and AI. Primarily, we have worked on multiple fintech products, including launching prepaid instruments in India. I was part of the American Express team that launched gift cards in India, so bringing in gift cards to India for the first time. Along with that, I worked with the internal servicing unit at American Express, working with American Express Technologies. So great to be here. Great to be in the insurance tech segment, a segment which is very close to my heart. A place where I'm seeing tremendous growth happening, and place where I'm seeing tremendous number blowing up my mind. So love to talk about it.
Well, and you bring up a great point. I mean, from the insurance side, we're continuing to see a ton of both investment from a capital side and from a technology side. There's so much opportunity because the value chain again has been very, we'll just say, established. Very pencil and paper, if you will, not as much streamlined action as it should be, with thankfully the digitization that we've had happen over the past couple years. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome up our last investor, someone who you've seen here quite regularly on the show. He's the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence. He sees AI as the new electricity, which he proves to us almost every day here on BCTV more and more. But last but not least, he's also one of the top podcasters in the world. And most may not know that, but truly, Gary Fowler doesn't just get shit done, GSD Ventures, by the way, but he also is one of the top podcasters in the world. If you haven't checked out his show yet, you definitely should. Tons of shameless plugging. Grandmaster of Artificial Intelligence, welcome back to the show. If you can, a little intro, a little background for everyone.
Yes, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it. So it's great to be here. Great to see everybody today. Anyhow, my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm a writer. I write a lot. I've written almost 80 articles now. My last article, Nikola Tesla's Dream Comes True, the democratization opportunities, getting a lot of visibility in Forbes. Anyhow, I just love technology. I've been doing it for 30 years. Largest exit, this company at 1.35 billion, done an IPO on NASDAQ. Eva, the company I started 3.5 years ago, is coming into unicorn status right now. I'm really happy about it. It's AI HR tech. Remote worker management 2 years ago. Of course, now today it's our business is up at 38x from what it was at the beginning of the pandemic. So lived all over the world, started one of the first accelerators in the world in Russia, actually not the world, but the largest private corporate accelerator. I did start that, and GVA Launch Guru. So it's great to be here. And as Kyle said, I believe AI is a new electricity, but I also believe we're in an entirely new level where everything's being connected together, and AI is a conduit for that and part of the fuel. So great to be here.
Absolutely, and you couldn't be more spot on. You know, it's something, again, you've continued to echo here on BCTV, but also all of our guests continue to push, is that not only is data something that's so incredibly powerful, and we're starting to see the realization of that, turning data into actionable insights or actionable predictive models as well, and seeing the use of that. But artificial intelligence has played a unique role, but even more so, this is a very unique time. We're seeing the convergence of so many technologies in so many industries. And I know it sounds like a lot, and it may sound a little fluffy, but if you're a regular watcher, a viewer here on BCTV, you hear this regularly. And if you're not, you're going to hear a lot about it today, how we're continuing to see huge advancements in various technologies. We're seeing industries rapidly adopt them because they have to stay alive. And what does that mean for us as consumers? Well, hopefully our lives continue to get better and easier from some of the things that traditionally have been a little bit more difficult, which leads us to insurance and insurance technology. Insurance, huge, vast, and where it may go, but from your all of your general standpoints, where are we today with the current state of insurance and insurance tech? What are you seeing happening? Lewis, let's start with you up in the corner. Where are we with insurance and insurance tech?
Well, I think insurance technology is getting more and more advanced. They have, predictive analytics that are there to mitigate the risk for the insurance companies, and also get the right pricing for the customer. They're doing all this stuff, and they're utilizing AI, machine learning. You have a lot of things that are involved there. They're even utilizing social media to go and gauge all this stuff. You wouldn't think that, but the communication aspect is there. You have insurance companies that are utilizing social media to communicate with their customers. Guess it makes it easier. Okay. But they're gathering that data, right? They're getting information on you, what you do, how you play with your dog, how you were speeding down the street. You have problems. Okay. If they're gathering the wrong information, but they're trying to go and bring more accurate pricing to the table. I would assume that's it. Artificial intelligence plays a role there because it's improving efficiencies. If you can improve efficiencies and get the user experience that much better, there'll be less anxiety from a user. When you have an insurance policy and you have to call in for a claim, the harder it is, you get stressed out. You don't want to deal with them. So the easier they make it, from Flow to Doug and Limu Emu to all the marketing techniques and State Farm and Farmers Insurance, all these marketing techniques, they're bringing products to the table. Telematics, they're bringing you things to put in your car so they can gauge, how fast you're going, how slow you're going, your patterns, everything else. They're taking all of this and they're going and they're creating packages, individualized packages for you. The insurance industry has gotten a bad rap for a long time, and it's going to continue to have a bad rap for a longer time. But they're trying to, from the utilization of drones and things like that, they're trying to make things easier. And I know machine learning and AI will play a big role in this and mitigating those risks. Hopefully, we get lower insurance policies. We don't know. Gary will know a little more about that than I would, but the state of it, and as far as technology is concerned, the companies, the entrepreneurs, the growth companies, the startups that are involved in these areas with predictive analytics and AI, machine learning towards this, those are the ones that are going to fly.
When you bring up some very good points that I want to dive into here in just a moment. So you talk about claims, you talk about data being used for that entire value chain, because one of the things that we've heard in the insurance that a lot of consumers have had questions with, and this is insurance holistically, just before we dive into any industries, is, well, if you're collecting data, where does that data go and how does that affect my insurance positively, but more importantly, negatively? And that is something that we may see a little bit of, and we're going to have some questions around this, around privacy and data skewing, how that may affect. But before we do, Anuj, I want to come to you. Same thing, current state of insurance tech. And you've been focusing in this area, as you said, from the whole value chain, but also in general, it's something that gets you excited. So why don't you go ahead and share a little bit more?
I'm going to echo some of Lewis's point here. Insurance is one industry which has always had a bad rep. It's going to continue to have bad rep. And it's even worse when you consider countries like India, China, Southeast Asia. You're talking about 1/3 of the world's population, over 3.5 billion people. And yet when it comes to going ahead and checking how many people are insured, you're barely going to enter double digits number. Talking about India, you will have somewhere around 60% of vehicles that are insured. And that's a really low number compared to the rest of the world. Talk about health insurance. You're only going to have 8% of people who were covered in some form of private coverage. Add government coverage to it, and the number goes up to 30%. Yet that's very, very, very low. Now, when you take a situation like COVID and there's a global pandemic that's happening, what does that lead to? That leads to innovation, that leads to new companies that you would usually not expect coming into the insurance segment. To give you an example, Uber's competitor in India is Ola Cabs, and they are very active in the fintech sector. They have been able to launch a prepaid card, their own wallet, their own prepaid instrument, and lately they saw the opportunity. They had the data, they knew their customers, and they decided, all right, we are going to get into the insurance segment. And the result, they are offering health insurance at a price never seen before, at least in my life. And this is probably going to blow everyone's mind who's living in US. If you are between the age of 0 to 40, they are offering you health insurance for 950 rupees. If I was to convert that to US dollars, that's going to be somewhere around $13 or $15. And in case that's not enough, if you pay an additional $10, so that's around $35 for a year, your health insurance is gonna be for 35,000 US dollars. That's insane. Comparing that to what people pay in Western countries, what people pay in European countries, they pay somewhere around $1,000 a year for one person, and you're talking about $35. And that's where the difference comes in. That's where technology is really helping the situation, because not only they understand where a user is going, not only they collected how frequently a user is traveling, they've been able to map that information to fairly understand the risk value. Even if I talk in terms of just COVID insurance, there are companies that are offering $7 COVID insurance for a year. $7. That's insane. That's something that's giving you access to a market of $1.3 billion. And if you have that kind of revenue coming in from just 1 billion people, you're already a $7 billion company. You already have a revenue of $7 billion. So it's all about tech. It's all about the data.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, that's just the simple math that you're giving. It's insane numbers that are being put up. And this is just one type of insurance. This doesn't even expand into other areas. And the cost perspective that you're presenting, it's just two different worlds, right? The average health insurance cost that most people pay, at least in the United States, is ginormous. We won't even say what the average is because it's just unnecessary. But what you're saying is that what you're seeing in India, but other places as well, is, I mean, this is down in the single digits of US dollars. I mean, single digits to get that type of insurance, it's just unheard of. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but it is.
At $7 a year, you get insurance for around 700 US dollars, just in case you get COVID. There is no hospitalization that's needed. The insurance term says that if you're diagnosed positive, you get $700 lump sum. You don't have to get a hospitalization. So even if you're asymptomatic, you get that $700. And that's why a lot of people went in and bought that insurance, because they realized that, all right, I don't lose a lot, but in case something happens, I have that covered. I have my entire family covered. And COVID is such a situation that you can easily expect if one person has it, almost everyone else in the family is going to have it. So you, by just multiplying that number with 4, you make sure that, all right, again, simple math. I paid it for, let's say, 4 of my family member, that's $28. And if someone gets it, I get $2,800. Simple math. Mm-hmm. If one person is sick and needs hospitalization, that's $2,800. It's easily going to cover up for that cost. And that's why people actually bought it.
It makes sense. I mean, and Gary, what are you seeing in this world as well? I mean, what are you seeing as the current state of furthering on the points previously?
Well, I mean, so think of it. We've got an incredible amount of data that now can be used by insurers. So you've got wearable devices and everything has changed. They can more accurately understand what's happened to that individual and what the cost for insurance could be on a real time. I recently had a conversation with the CTO of one of the largest insurance companies. I mean, they're actually taking devices and install them into cars, for instance. So I know exactly what your driving patterns are, and I'm going to give you insurance at a much better price if you're not speeding, right? If you're obeying traffic laws, and I'm basically monitoring your behavior, and I'm able to I can cut your insurance costs even down 3/4, depending on how much you drive, right? If you're driving a lot less than what the standard is. So think about how that's really going to change our lives. The other thing is, think about the challenges that the insurers have. Think about drones, right? Drones, you know, there's a lot of risk with drones, a lot of risk with robots. How does it work? How do we value that? How do we take that risk? So they've got a lot of challenges coming forward. The other thing is using artificial intelligence and robotic process automation. It's forecasted that by the year 2025, there could be 70 to 80% less people in the claims department of insurance companies because of the fact that you've got these processes and everything is tied together, right? I can now process claims because I got the information from the police department. I understand what's happening with the car. I know what your driving behavior is, et cetera. So I think it's a great opportunity. The challenge is the insurance companies today had better get up to speed. You know, I have a call later this week. I have a group on drug discovery. I mean, now the pharmaceutical companies are going out and they're trying to figure out how can I use artificial intelligence to make my drug discovery process better, faster, and look at more models very simultaneously. So it's the same thing with insurers. And the ones that actually, you know, we talked about this before, the digital transformation. I mean, it's insurance companies, think about it. All the data they know, and as Lewis said, the prediction of what's going to happen with you, right? You're overweight or your cholesterol's up or something's up, and it's all tied in. How can I reward you for actually having better behavior?
So that's a good point, because the reward side is the encouragement, right? Now there's a big negative, or there's a negative feeling that goes around with this. And so my question first off is, where can this go wrong, right? So if you know my driving habits, and that helps with my auto insurance, great. But does that have another correlating effect to, say, my health insurance, because I'm driving in a certain area, or for instance, the air quality might not be good? Where's the negative flip flop? How do you balance that so that it's the data that's being collected stays in its lane, or that it's positively correlated?
Well, I mean, it's gonna come, right? You're gonna have a wearable device. Your stress level goes up. They're going to be able to tell what's happening with you in that particular exact situation. So if you've got, you know, and that insurance is tied into a state farm, imagine it. I mean, the good news is it actually it's like biofeedback in a way. So you now have the feedback to know what you should be doing better. Well, imagine if it prompts you and says, hey, listen, calm down. Everything is okay, right? You know, and it was reflected by giving you some type of a bonus or reducing your insurance or something. Positive encouragement. I think it's a great thing, because part of the reason that we have the bad behavior is because we don't know what bad is.
Well, there's no positive or negative effect to your point, right? It's just you've got driver's insurance or auto insurance, pardon me, and the only time you see a negative is if you get stopped, right? You get a ticket. You have an accident, something negative, which has a bigger negative correlation. But if you're driving well every single day, very few auto insurances here in the US at least will continue to benefit you. So I think you're right. But Lewis, I saw you shaking your head as I asked that question, right? The negative correlation. So what are your thoughts?
I think the data is just going to cross over. There's not going to be everyone stay in their lane. When does anyone stay in their lane? That data is going to go and it's going to cross over. You're going to have doop, 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 doop. So basically on the insurance end, it's going to cross over from your health to your vehicle, to your boat, to your this, to your that. And all this data is going to be brought up. You look at Apple, you look at what they have. They have their wearable devices, tracks your heart, tracks your breathing, tracks your oxygen level, all little health things that this is, you bring in the health tech into this, but all these things, all this information, maybe not on Apple, but on other devices, you're collecting data. You think for a second that the insurance company is not going to pay for that data? Okay, for them to gauge and individualize situations for you, to go and say, hey, maybe your rate should be lower, maybe your rate should be higher. Of course, they're going to say maybe your rate should be higher. You know, so that crossover and them, you know, them crossing over lanes, it's a given. It's a given. We need data to make things better, but you know, on the insurance end, you know, whether you go for automotive insurance, you know, telematics, that's important. You know, they gauge it. You have rental companies that have been doing this for years, right? They gauge how fast you're going, so they can say, hey, you know, they can stop. Let's say with certain cars, it'll stop you from going so fast. Okay, so there are things that have been in place for a long time. It's just now the insurance companies are like, okay, I guess we're going to do this now. This is what they're thinking. They have to smarten up if they want to make things better for the customers and for the industry.
You're right. I mean, and this is actually, again, positive, but also negative. I mean, with the Apple Watch, this is something that, and also when we had the beginning of COVID and some of the initial tracking applications that were put out there, this was a huge concern, is you're collecting all this data on me. What are you doing with it? Where are you going with it? I mean, wearables are great, and we've talked about this. I've had a long time background in that area, and it's great. But the action of which you create from that data is what matters, right? Those actionable insights.
This is what brings in the security and the privacy part of it, and this is what we have to focus on too. So all this stuff goes hand in hand, Kyle. You know, all this stuff goes hand in hand. You know, it's the wild, wild west. So you know, we're gonna have the OK corral at some point. Let's see where we go.
Absolutely. And, you know, Anuj, I'm not skipping you. I'm going to come to you here in just a moment on this as well. But just a quick point is there is going to be kind of a unique balance to Gary's point around how artificial intelligence plays a role with the data is looking at, okay, well, you know, you did this, but this happened, right? You had this happen, but you were also very stressed because you were coming out of 7 meetings and, you know, just had 15 Zoom calls back to back. So we'll give you a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here, maybe, hopefully, right? Versus nope, one and done type situation. And what I mean by that is that the data will hopefully play a role as it looks at everything, right? The models will look at everything and how it correlates, not just hit you on one data point, which is, I think, the big fear, right? So go back to the Apple Watch example, and apologies, Apple, but you're the leading wearable right now, so deal with it. But as you wear your Apple Watch or your Fitbit, whatever it may be, that's just one data point, right? Correlating that with your calendar, correlating that with the conditions of the day, correlating that with your history and what you have coming forward, that all is the difference versus, oh, well, this person was not walking, this person was sitting all day, this person was you know, highly exercising, this person was here, was there, was not, etc. Instead, it will hopefully look at a bigger, rounder pool of data. Anuj, to you, what are you seeing on the negative of all this?
I mean, you're right. If I really have to talk about the positive and the negative side that you're highlighting, I would really just put it into 2 words: the trust deficit. The reason why insurance penetration has always been low in Southeast Asian countries or across the major parts of the world is because there's always been that trust deficit. How do I know that I can trust you? One of the major trouble Max Insurance had when it came into the Indian market is coming in as a private company. One of the major issue an individual had, if I was to buy insurance from you being a private company, how do I know you will not go bankrupt in a couple of years? That trust deficit is a very important situation to handle, because as long as you have that, you are not going to see you're not going to see insurance penetration as a whole. It's not going to reach out to the masses. It's not going to reach a wider audience where it can actually make an impact, where you can actually see the big numbers and where everything starts to make sense. And that's one of the negative sides, that trust factor is something that the insurance companies are not working on. Of course, there are new companies that are coming in with new products. They're taking another example, the COVID insurance that I mentioned for $7, that's by a company named PhonePe, which is a fintech company that's backed by Walmart. Likewise, we were talking to
buddy, we may have lost
an investor in the portfolio companies, comparing insurance or medical insurance, which primarily covers your. Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it working again?
Yep, you're good.
Hello. Perfect. So yeah, as I was saying, we are seeing new companies come up. So PhonePe, a fintech company backed by Walmart, coming into the insurance segment. Likewise, talking about another one of the investors we were talking to last Friday, he mentioned that unlike other medical insurance company, which primarily focus on hospitalization, these companies are offering insurance for OPD visits, for your outpatient visit where you just go get a consultation and leave. And that's another market which medical insurance has not yet tapped into. But again, one of the main problems that they're facing, one of the main entry barrier for them is that trust deficit. They still don't have that user trust that if I bought your insurance, even though it's low cost, my risk is low, how do I know you're going to come through when I actually need you? So that's Absolutely. One negative side, which the industry as a whole has to get through right now.
Lewis, back to you. ARVR. This is a world that you focus in and spend a lot of time in. Where does this play, if it does, a role into insurance and insurance tech?
It does, because you have, these chat boxes, you have virtual assistants, you have this stuff that's going on to make it easier to process. If you make processing a claim easier, faster, and just a pleasant experience, even from you go from an unpleasant experience and having the accident to a more pleasant experience with notifying and processing your claim, and everything happens quicker. The claim gets satisfied quicker. Everyone's notified. If you have the system in place, is notified quicker. And if you are in an AI environment, you have a chat box that is that virtual assistant that's actually helping you through this, because all the information is there. That makes it easier for you. So that, and then, Gary, and I mentioned earlier about the drones. Drones are going to play a role, a pivotal role, when you're talking about, like mass destruction, what's happening, in your neck of the woods, Kyle. You have all these fires that are coming up. So what's going to happen is that these drones, they're going to have to be utilized to go and scope out what's happening and see what their exposure is. There's no other way to do it unless you go rent or buy an expensive helicopter and do it, one by one. But if you have the drones, they can do it. But then you're bringing something else into the picture where they have to make sure that this is working properly, because, the drones, their action, understandable, but now they're in airspace. So what's going to happen there? A lot of different things come into play, but AI is at the center of all of this, and people don't even realize it. When you go and you take that telematic device, you put in your car, yes, you have artificial intelligence happening, machine learning. They're learning about you. They're learning about your do's, your don'ts, your this, your that's, and they're making it work to their advantage. But hopefully that helps you, like State Farm does it, and you got Flo, she does it, and everyone's doing it, right? Everyone's drinking the same Kool-Aid now. So this is what they're doing. So again, I think that AI is just going to be the center of everything for a long time to come.
And I want to switch over to the opportunities, because I agree, and I think that's a good transition. So where are the opportunities when it comes to insurance and insurance tech? Where should people be focusing, either from placing their bets or from a building perspective? And Gary, let's start with you. Where are you seeing the areas of opportunity that people should be really focusing on if they're building in the insurance space?
Well, it's like it's keep it simple, stupid time, right? If they got a lot of data coming at them, and Lewis is right in terms of telematics, and let's put 5G in here too, because it's going to really help the insurance companies a lot. So how do I take and analyze a massive amount of data that's coming at me? I need to have systems in place now that helps me understand. So if I was an insurance company, I would spend a lot of time and find the right kind of resources today that have that large big data experience, artificial intelligence experience, that can go down through and help me build those systems, so I am prepared. Because if I don't do it, I probably won't be in business, because this is going to happen very, very, very quickly. It's not going to be one that's going to take 10 years. This is going to happen very quickly. Why? Because it can actually now understand that consumer better and think about it. It's a more personalized relationship with your insurance company. They say, what? State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Well, this is going to be like, a family member, brother, and hopefully not big brother, but literally it's going to be like that. So in terms of AI on that side, in terms of drone can be used in a whole lot of different ways. So not smart, but intelligent drones to be able to survey damage situations. Think about the massive destruction we just talked about in California. Imagine if you have a fleet of smart drones that go out and start to assess the damage and start to make some provisions. Okay, this house is not here. It's insured by Progressive. Let's go down through and let's make sure that these people are taken care of. We've assessed the damage, and at least you could start, getting that result faster. So that type of technology. And the other thing is security, because with all this data is coming in, it opens up a nasty situation in terms of personal security. I'm not sure I want somebody knowing every single thing about me, because now I've tied in what behavior I have. Imagine a thief. Well, I left the house. It's time to break in. You know, so we've got to go down through and we've got to make sure, you know, from a cybersecurity standpoint, that we actually have anticipated plugging those holes. And oh, by the way, AI also, I wrote an article a couple of years ago with the chief security officer, former chief security officer at Apple, Rick Orloff. And we talked about that then. What you need to predict where there's going to be the holes. We need to do, the thing is, if we're reactive in this environment, we got a big problem. We need to be proactive. Cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, how we connect all these sensors together. I would hope that the insurers are out there now thinking, okay, 5G's here. Now we've got these devices that can go in cars, in homes, et cetera, right? Just think about in a house, right? You could have, hey, the roof is leaking. You could stop it before it becomes a big problem. If you had a device, a camera in a house, it's one thing about having a smoke detector, but there's another thing about having a fire detector, and which some of the more advanced technologies, one of my portfolio companies actually does it. They actually look at the fire before it becomes a problem and alert, 911. Hey, listen, there's a fire in the house before the house was burnt down. So those kind of technologies, we need to think out of the box. You're right about it. Lewis talked about chatbots and develop those relationships with the system. We need to make them friendlier, better, faster. And again, this is a tsunami coming in. It's going to hit us. It's going to take 2 or 3 years, and this is going to start sweeping through like nothing, just like the digital transformation, Kyle, when we started doing this, when I started coming on your show. I mean, we talked about it then, remember, in the beginning of the pandemic. Well, it's going to have a wave like that. So who would have believed 6 months later we are where we are today? It's going to happen.
Absolutely.
The insurance side.
Absolutely. And on further on the data, I mean, you're talking the opportunities of predictive analytics or predictive maintenance, being able to leverage some of that data and both historically and current to predict certain situations and also how to handle those. We get into the conversation of synthetic data and how to then recreate those models with, synthetic data or kind of
exactly
manipulated data. Yeah,
what
you
if
can
I'm
build
connected
models
to your car's computer, and I'm 5G connected to your car's computer, and I know your brakes are about to go out, and I'm the insurer, and I said, listen, let me help you set up an appointment. We've got a deal with XYZ shop. Oh, by the way, it's not too far from where you are. You should go in. Think about what that does, right? It changes everything.
It changes it changes the game. It changes it all because it predictively puts you, or proactively prompts you to make a decision. If you have the chance to make that decision, you're rewarded. If you choose not to, you take the risk, which changes the dynamic of the insurance game. And Lewis, to you, I saw you had a comment, and then News, we're going to come to you before the lightning round.
Yeah, I want to jump on to what Gary was saying. He on point. You have, insurance companies, other companies as well, but let's talk about insurance. They're reactive. They react to the situation. If they're not proactive, they're going to have a problem. If you're not proactively trying to resolve the issue or coming up with the technologies to make things better, you're going to have rates that are going to keep going up. You're going to have, customers that are unhappy. You're going to have, and now with 5G, it's here, it's coming, and it's coming faster than ever. All this stuff is moving at lightning speed. So don't be reactive, be proactive, and please, God, do not be inactive, because you're going to go out of business and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money. So, but Gary was on point with that. And I had to just jump in and just expand on that thought a little bit.
Absolutely. News to you. Any other areas of opportunity? Again, you focus on fintech, you focus on the Indian market, but also greater Southeast Asia. Where else are you seeing opportunities people should be paying attention to? And then we're coming to the lightning round.
So I'm gonna echo something Lewis said again. Be proactive. I've said that a number of times. We have always said that we are also focusing on proactive care with Autodom as well, and that's always going to be the key in such a critical segment. You're talking about life and death situation. You're talking about situations where the loss in monetary value is going to be huge, and that's where he's absolutely right. One thing, you always got to be proactive. We had a chance of working with a couple of insurance apps for the Kuwait region. For Middle East, these were car insurance companies that have primarily been on paper, that have still been taken customers with via regular paper application, and I'm talking as early as 2018. So when we started working with them, our job was taking them online, making sure we established their entire system. And one of the main key factors that we established from them from day one was digital onboarding, making sure that every piece of information can be collected digitally, can be verified, and can be processed all in one go without actually having to interact with customer physically. And fast forward 1 year later, the result of that, Kuwait government announces an insurance change, causes a huge turmoil in the market. And that's where for those client of ours, that came in handy. They have we have been in talks with them for the last 2 years, and they have been thankful for us for doing that. Fast forward 8 more months, we are talking about the time of COVID. Now again, people can't go out. So early steps, being proactive, making sure that when you're establishing your system, there is contingencies in place. You are planning not 5 years ahead. You got to plan 10 years ahead. And that only then is when you can actually beat the market. If any of those companies were not planning on digital onboarding, they would have lost a ton of customers during the last 8 months.
Absolutely.
So like I was saying, closing thoughts, again, be proactive, make sure you are customer centric, you are giving them a good experience, and plan 5 years, 10 years ahead of time.
And where can everyone find you online? Since you throw your closing thoughts out there, we'll just come around to the lightning round for everybody. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation, especially around Southeast Asia and Asia as a whole?
You can look me up on LinkedIn. That's Anuj Chauhan, ANUUJ, Chauhan, CHAUHAN, or you can find me on Twitter with just my first name. You can also check our company, Yellow Sapphire Technologies. That's yellowsapphiretech.com on our website. Drop us an email. Would love to chat.
Absolutely. Louis, to you. Closing thoughts, where can everyone find you online?
Closing thoughts. This was a great panel. Insurance technology is going to be important. There's going to be a lot of crossover. There's a lot of opportunity for the entrepreneurs and the smart people that are creating these new environments. Think about what is needed. Don't be reactive to what's going on. Think about what's needed. Be proactive. Think about what's going to happen tomorrow. You want scalability. You want whatever you're making, whatever you're creating to be around for a long time. And when you're connecting with investors, just make sure that you have someone that's going to help you and get their hands dirty with you. People, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's easy enough. You can go to FGA Partners. You can go to megahoot.com, find out more about me and connect. I'm always willing to speak to anyone that needs some guidance. We may not do business or anything together, but I don't have a problem giving a helping hand when I can.
Absolutely. And Gary, last but not least, closing thoughts, where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, so I mean, this opportunity with this massive amount of data from wearables to all the different data sources, connected cars, electric cars, there's a lot of data, factories that can be used by insurance companies to make it more fair for companies and to help us correct our own behavior. So this is a massive opportunity. AI is the new electricity, as I've said many, many times. And this is the beginning of the 20th century, and we need to move now. Don't be late. As Louis said, be proactive. Do it now before it's too late, because it's going to hit you like a tsunami. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, at LinkedIn. I'd be happy to talk to you and tune in. I have a couple of shows. I would be happy to have you join my show, Gary's Picks and GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. Be happy to have you there. Thank you, Kyle.
Wonderful. And all, thank you so much for your time today and your sharing your thoughts and insights from what's happening around the world in insurance and the broader category of insurance tech. And to your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show and join our panelists today. Thank you, Gary. We'd love to have you and find the right episode, industry, region, and technology around the world to talk about. Thank you, Louis. And with that, a big shout out to the LA Token team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. As you heard it here, insurance and insurance tech is an important category, something that's still evolving and still has plenty of opportunity and something to be focused on. If you're an investor, we've talked a little bit about where the opportunities are to start placing your bets and start paying attention. If you're an entrepreneur, you heard exactly what 3 investors here are looking at, what they want to talk about, and how they want to connect with you and hear more. So do reach out. Make sure to add context that you met them here on VCTV and follow up with each and every one of them. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We'll be back here after a short break for more VCTV.